Welcome back to the Great Ace Attorney Chronicles 2? Episode 2. I'm sorry that I'm so inconsistent the last few weeks with my streams. I just feel so tired. It might just be the weather, since it's starting to get dark sooner. It's getting colder. And I don't know, I just don't get enough vitamin D. I have no idea. But I'm really tired. Well, there is a combination about with my dogs haven't been sick for a while. Now they're better, thankfully. But yeah, that stole quite a lot of sleep, so that might also be a factor. But I'm really tired, so since I'm streaming in the evening for me, my time, yeah. And I am a morning person, more so than a night owl. So, yeah. Definitely not the best time for me to stream, but it is still not too terribly late for me, so should be fine. I'm just tired. This morning I was freezing after death with a sweater, really thick pants, a long shirt, long sleeved shirt. I was just freezing. I just went back to bed, called my dogs, and we cuddled for a few hours until I felt better. But yeah, let's get started. We left off at the crime scene. I can't really remember if we're now currently recapping the old case. Yes, okay. He's there, so it has to be the old case, meaning this is a case before Susato left for Japan, and it was the one that was mentioned by our Japanese friend here, that it's apparently important to the first case that we played through. But yeah, something about a haunted lodgings, and he looks pretty much poisoned. But yeah, but let's see. Oi, I said hands off. You're gonna mess up my crime scene. Oh, no, I just wanted to look, that's all. No chance. I know your kind. You'll mess it up just by looking at it. Someone's in a bad mood. Well, there's certainly some bad air in here, isn't there? Yeah, true. Alright, it sounds like I'd better talk to the inspector first and try to curry some favor. Don't want to, though. Yo. What a terrible thing to have happened. It's only been 3 days since I was arrested for the incident on the pavement outside. And then, having finally regained my freedom, it starts happening all over again. Endless existence of excruciating experiences. So, the victim lived here on the ground floor, and your room is just one story up, isn't it? Yes, that's right. In a way, we were neighbors, I suppose. So, did you know the victim? Were you friends? What's the matter with Soseki-san now? It was an innocent enough question, wasn't it? Why does he seem so shaken by it? Well, I suppose he wasn't a complete stranger. He ever invited me to his room? Never. On my honor. I swear it. What an extreme reaction. I must agree. You're probably wishing you'd never asked now, aren't you, Mr. Naruhodo? When we found him here, I felt wretched, which is why I sent word asking you to come. Through that inspector over there. Okay, chill, my dude. Well then, what do you want? So, Inspector, what was the victim's name? Who was he? Mr. William Shakespeare. He was a lodger here. As you can probably tell, he was an actor. A bit of a dead loss as it happens, or just dead. Mr. Shakespeare. It was the landlord, old Mr. Geridap, and the other lodger, Mr. Natsume, who found him. The fella didn't rise at his usual hour, so Geridap got worried and kicked the door down. But doesn't Mr. Geridap have a bad leg? Oh, yeah, you're right there. It was that shittery Japanese hunchback over there who actually did the kicking. Really? Soseki-san. The victim was pretty hard up, it seems. Even done some time inside for the petty crimes. He had no money, no place to go, and no friends. His only acquaintances were the people in this house. Miserable life, and a miserable end to it. So, what exactly is Mr. Natsume still doing here? He's not involved in this investigation, so shouldn't you have sent him away from the crime scene? Well, I'm not saying it's because the fella looks odd or anything, or that he acts suspicious, but I thought it would be prudent to take a statement from the culprit, I mean, cohabiter. Alright. Wise jackass. You nearly said culprit there, didn't you? Oh dear, Mr. Natsume appears to be under suspicion again. It certainly seems that way. He does just come across as such an odd fellow, doesn't he? Oh man, how unfortunate. Anyway, I can't say much until the coroner gets here. But I don't think the fella's been a goner that long. The body's still warm. Even if the inspector would allow it, I don't think I could bring myself to touch a dead body. What are you doing there again? Mr. Sholmes, what are you doing? You need only observe to know it, my dear fellow. Investigating, naturally. There's nothing natural about that pose. Mr. Sholmes, have you made some miraculous discovery? Patience, my dear madame, patience. We've not been here in this room for 5 minutes. Hey, Erika, how you doing? So far, all I've managed to deduce is what actually happened. My goodness! He wasn't, poison, was he? But isn't that exactly everything we need to know, Mr. Sholmes? Now that you propose the idea, I believe one could indeed see it that way. At the present time, I have managed to draw two incontrovertible conclusions. The first, that there was a physical struggle here last night in which the victim fought for his life. Oh. Mr. Natsume, what's wrong? Is something that Mr. Sholmes said significant somehow? No, don't mind me. Forget I was here. And my second conclusion is that there was a poison lingering in the air here last night that passed the victim's lips. Nonsense! Alright, Mr. Natsume, why are you reacting so extremely to Mr. Sholmes' deduction? Oh, I forgot to turn on the music for you guys. Just realized. Oops. No. Don't turn anything off, please. No. Please, pretend I'm not here. Invisible. Ineffable. Inscrutable. Insignificant. Impossible to ignore. You must tell us everything, Mr. Sholmes. Spare no detail. But of course, let the theatrical tragedy before us be unravelled by my great deductions presented for your pleasure in 2 acts. We've heard some truly astounding great deductions from Mr. Sholmes in the past. Ah, reminds me, Erica, last time I set it to... Yes, okay, it saved it. Since I turned the flashes off, turned the game off, then started the stream and realized the flashes were still going. And, well, it didn't save it for some reason. Now it did. Perfect. No doubt this will be no exception. What miracles will unfold before our eyes this time? Yeah, well... Probably a very wrong deduction as always. So, my dear fellows, for your delight and wonder, let the curtains rise. For Sherlock Sholmes' logic and reasoning spectacular, Act 1. The Great Deduction, the game is afoot. Topic 1. Cause of death. Careful observation of the victim reveals to us the events the events that transpired in this disconsolate room last night. Foam at the mouth of the deceased clearly indicates the use of a poison. Next to the victim, we notice a large dining plate which contains, you will observe, 1/2 of a sizable bar of soap. That's soap. I was so sure that was going to be butter, but okay, soap. Meaningful? Indubitably. Did he just eat soap? And that's why he has foam? Okay, let's see. Why is this soap set so purposefully upon the dish, like the victim's last supper? In fact, yes. Could it be that the man was about to eat it? Of course, the fork reveals the answer. Does it though? It appears that the young man's appetite was his undoing. Taking up arms in the form of his cutlery, the victim engaged in a deadly battle for his life. Yet the struggle against his hunger was in vain, for in the end he couldn't resist devouring the slippery feast. Okay, it was suicide. Great, we solved the case. We can go now, thanks. You did good, Sherlock. Thanks for your great, absolutely awesome deduction. What is he then, though? Bulimic? Since he doesn't look that thick. And if he has an eating disorder which leads him to eat anything and everything, while not really gaining weight, that would point to bulimia, but okay. Sure, thanks. Let's go on. But London's foul soap is besmirched by foul poison. Yes, the victim's life was claimed by poison that tainted the contents of the plate. The soap and the leather about the young man's mouth are too perfectly matched to ignore. The cause of death was clearly intoxication due to excessive ingestion of foul soap. What are you even talking about? Though, personally, I have a greater interest in the taste of foul candle wax, of course. Poisoning from soap ingestion. Alright. Topic 2. Suicide or murder. The cause of death identified, we proceed to Act 2, where we ponder the next question. Was this suicide or murder? The audience will recall that death occurred during the victim's last supper. Did the man dine and die alone? This single teacup suggests the answer. To draw a conclusion on such meager evidence would be foolish, however, certainly the careful criminal could have absconded with his own cup to cover his tracks. Well, allow me to lift the veil of doubt, my dear fellow. Indeed, what reveals the answer, of course, is the broken lock. Though force opened now, at the time of the incident, the door was locked. And the sole key was in the victim's pocket. In other words, when the victim consumed the poison, he must have been alone. Alone with his inferior soap, from whence wafted an inferior scent. Look, are you listening to yourself? And with that acrid aroma lingering in the air, the victim met his end in tragic solitude. We can take comfort only in the fact that his soul was well cleansed on its way to the hereafter. And no possible perpetrator present. Thus concludes the final act of Sherlock Holmes's great deduction. He certainly has, yeah. And he loves to listen to himself too much, while not really listening to what he's saying. I really want the little girl as my sidekick with the great deductions. She's definitely a genius, while Sherlock just acts like one. Yeah, can we correct his course now? There's just one thing, Mr. Holmes. You're disposed to identifying just one thing, aren't you, Mr. Naruhodo? Right. What concerns you? Well, no matter how hungry he was, do you really think the man would have eaten soap? It is quite apparent that this man had barely a penny to his name. It is a curious thing, but to one so destitute, soap can suddenly appear quite irresistibly appetizing. What? This guy really hurts my brain. You know, I get eating out of a trash can, eating moldy food while not eating the moldy part when you're really, really hungry and desperate. Yes, but eating something that is not edible, no, unless you have an eating disorder, which is something entirely different from being hungry and desperately hungry. If he wanted to, well, kill himself, there are better methods. And Look, no, just no. Ah, really? Oh. How extraordinarily stupid. In truth, I have tried a little soap myself in the past. Yes, I got some soap on my tongue as well, and I hated every second of it. You've eaten it, you mean? Oh, my dear fellow, it was some time ago. My postulation was that it could cleanse my gut. Okay. And did it? As I writhed in agony on the floor and spilled the contents of my stomach. Yes, I believe it did. Soap normally doesn't have that effect on you. Unless their soap is different, but the gag reflex or the what is the right word for that? That force that makes you spill your stomach contents don't really get triggered that easily. Huh. The experience taught me a valuable lesson. Soap is quite poisonous. It has an unpleasant taste and leads to great discomfort. In summary, I cannot recommend it. Believe me, I wouldn't eat it even if you did. There's something that troubles me as well, actually. Oh, what's that? It's Mr. Natsume. I couldn't help noticing him shuddering and quivering out of the corner of my eye, almost as if Mr. Sholmes' deduction touched a nerve somehow. Nonsense. Well, that clenched teeth episode didn't last. I think, judging by Mr. Natsume's reaction, the great detective's deductions may need some gentle corrections in order to reach the actual truth. Yes, Mr. Sholmes' observations and deductions are sometimes a little too sharp. You call that sharp? I call that blind. Blinded by what he thinks is obvious, while ignoring little details that actually lead to the right conclusions. But sure, a little too sharp. He has a tendency to hit the nail on the side of the head and drive it in at an obtuse angle. Yeah, I agree with that. When he does that, it falls to us to straighten things out. Alright then, let's see what we can do. Yes, we must pick out the key words of Mr. Sholmes' quite brilliant deductions and discreetly exchange them for something that makes a little more sense. If we can do that, I'm sure we'll arrive at what Mr. Sholmes meant to say in the first place. In that case, are you ready for the second performance of the day? Once again, my dear fellows, for your continued delight and wonder, let the curtains rise for Sherlock Holmes's Logic and Reasoning Spectacular, Act 1. Course correction. Hold it, Mr. Sholmes. Topic 1, cause of death. Careful observation of the victim revealed to us the events that transpired in this disconsolate room last night. Foam at the mouth of the deceased clearly indicates the use of poison. When can I correct? Next to the victim, we notice a large dining plate which contains, you will observe, 1/2 of a sizable bar of soap. Meaningful? Indubitably. Why is this soap set so purposefully upon the dish, like the victim's last supper? In fact, yes. Could it be that the man was about to eat? Of course, the fork reveals the answer. Well, we can't deny that a fork implies the man was eating something or about to eat something. Yes, that's true. If I were to decide to eat some soap, I would prefer to use a fork than to attempt it with chopsticks. And of course, only half of the bar of soap is left on the plate. But might there not be some other explanation? Something material that proves whether or not the man really ate some soap. Oh look, there's more soap on the floor here. Mr. Shakespeare must really have loved the stuff. Let's not jump to conclusions, Mr. Naruhodo. Look closely at the soap. Don't you see that it would fit together perfectly with the half bar on the table? How can that be? I think that they are two halves of the same bar that broke apart. What do you want from me? Is it the other half of the soap? Really? Okay, I'm just gonna go for it. Could it be that the man was about to eat it? Oh, of course, the other piece of soap reveals the answer. It's being the other half of the soap on the table. In short, the victim was not eating soap at all. But it's obvious, really, for no depth of hunger could drive any man to attempt to eat soap. Boy. May I remind you of what you said? Like 3 minutes ago. Can't go back enough. But you literally said hunger could drive someone to eat soap. But now, of course, there's no way. Even I, with my unquenchable thirst for practical knowledge, took only a single bite. But that begs the question of how the man was poisoned, because there's no sign of any food on the table. An excellent observation, Mr. Naruhodo, and one that furnishes us with the answer we seek. for London's foul soap is besmirched by foul poison. Yes, the victim's life was claimed by poison that tainted the contents of the plate. Mr. Sholmes is still pushing the soap argument then. Perhaps he's suggesting the man licked the soap rather than ate it? If soap in London is that poisonous, I don't think I want to be washing my hands with it. But there are no signs of any food in this room at all. Of course, food isn't the only thing that passes people's lips, is it? Are we talking about this stain here, or are we talking about the tea? Yes, a Western vessel for the serving of infusions of dry tea leaves. It's a teacup, Mr. Naruhodo, as you well know. Stop putting on airs. And it's empty. Ah, so we've already established that the victim wasn't eating soap when he died. However, there is significant evidence to suggest that he was drinking tea. My thoughts exactly. I would actually love to go for the cup in his other hand, but I guess you're not letting me. Yes, the victim's life was claimed by poison that tainted the teacup. Indeed, cups have been the vessel of choice for practicing poisoners over the centuries. And it would appear that this victim drank every last drop. There's no sign of food anywhere in the room. Which leads us to the immutable conclusion. The cause of death was clearly intoxication due to the ingestion of poison contained in this teacup. Poison in the tea. Whee! Suicide or murder? Well, that leaves only one option. The cause of death identified, we proceed to Act 2, where we ponder the next question. Was this suicide or murder? The audience will recall that death occurred during the victim's Last Supper. Did the man dine and dine alone? The single cup suggests the answer. Ah, the Western vessel for infused hot drinks again. It's already featured heavily in our deductions so far. Yes, we can imagine that shortly before his death, Mr. Shamspeare was having a drink of tea. There would be nothing remarkable about that, but what troubles me is Mr. Natsume's reaction when he heard Mr. Sholmes suggested. There is more to this deduction than it seems. We must closely examine the scene of the crime again for some more clues. I already saw the freaking teacup in his hand. Are you kidding me?
Take that!
Did the man dine and die alone? This other teacup suggests the answer. Yes, there were 2 teacups in this room all along. Ah! In other words, this is a strong indication that at the victim's Last Supper, there was a guest present. At the very least, we can say now with certainty that somebody else was here in this room last night taking tea with the victim. What are you talking about? Utterly, unbelievably, unjustly, unreasonable. To draw a conclusion on such meager evidence would be foolish, however, certainly. In which case, what more can we deduce about this possible guest at the table? Well, allow me to lift the veil of doubt. My dear fellow. Do you mean to say you know who exactly was in this room at the time of the victim's death? Well, he's probably shivering right in front of you. Indeed, what revealed the answer, of course, is the broken lock. I'm not sure I like where this deduction is going now. I'm afraid it's too late to go back to the Kyon days? Of what? Of what? Of eating too much soap. What? But the identity of the guest who was in here last night when the victim passed away is something I have a very bad feeling about. Same. Well, you can try to ignore your feelings, but we cannot ignore the truth, Mr. Naruhodo. No, I suppose not. Time to look around again. It's empty. Empty of liquid, but full of air. It makes you think, doesn't it? It makes me think that you're full of hot air. We should be thinking about who else was in the room at the time. But Susato-san's quip in response was cleverer than my original riddle. Or that a riddle? Okay. At first glance, it seems that the only thing in this room are the makeshift stage and the costumes. I overlooked these 3 books initially. I wonder what they are. Let's see. The titles read The Picture of Monsieur Lecoq, Canterbury Yearnings, and A Meal for Gaboriau. Wait, I'm sure I've heard those titles before. Yes, they are Mr. Natsume? It could just be an incredible coincidence, but they're the exact same 3 books that Mr. Natsume purchased the other day. What? Yes, on the day of the unfortunate incident when Miss Green was stabbed, Suzuki-san had just been to a bookshop and bought them. That's right. And now these 3 titles are here in the room of the victim. Yet, Mr. Natsume claims never to have been here before. What does this mean, do you think? I really don't know what you make of it. Really. As if his reactions weren't obvious enough. Indeed, what reveals the answer, of course, is the pile of familiar books. Quite so. It's no mere coincidence that these 3 titles are here in this room. It's the link to the truth. Mr. Natsume, you purchased these books 4 days ago at a second-hand bookshop. That's just coincidence. Of course. In that case, you will be able to bring the same 3 titles from your own room, will you not? This very moment. No, never. Non-negotiable. If you can't bring your own copies here, it proves that these 3 books are in fact yours. Having purchased these books 4 days ago and returned to your lodgings, you were arrested the very next day. So you could conceivably have brought these books here on that evening, but you never mentioned that. In other words, you could only have brought these 3 books here to the victim's room last night, having returned to your lodgings after the trial concluded at the Old Bailey. In short, there's only one possible conclusion. The victim died here in this room, in his room, last night as a result of poisoning. And that same night, the victim had a visitor. And that visitor Was you, Mr. Soseki Natsume. Thus concludes the final act of Sherlock Holmes's great deduction. You mean the grand show that I saved? Oh. Yeah. This was really too easy. Not again, not again, not again. Not again. Well then, Mr. Natsume. It would appear you're gonna have to accompany me down to the yard. Again. But wait. Hold your horses. Yes? Door, key, locked, entry, exit entirely impossible. He's so flustered he's being even stranger than normal. What, you think that's an alibi? You could have just made a copy. What? You live in the same building after all. You'd have had plenty of opportunity, I'm sure. But misery me. Sorry, sir. You'll get your chance to give your side of the story later. The facts speak for themselves, Mr. Moustache. Ah, you're horrible, Sherlock Holmes. He really has found himself an arch rival now, hasn't he? Come on now, no dilly-dallying. Outside, there's a carriage waiting. Locum student Mr. Naruhodo Esquire. I never imagined I'd be in this position again, but you have to help me, please. Please, I'm innocent. Alright, I understand. We'll come to your cell later and talk about it. And one more thing. Oh, yes? My poor little kitty cat. Please give him breakfast for me. We're just gonna adopt him, is that alright? And so, his evil curse still apparently unbroken, Suzuki-san found himself once again the prime suspect in a case of murder. Thanks to the incriminating deduction of the great detective. Yo, Naruhodo-san, you got him on the right track. He would have ruled it a suicide, not that anyone would have believed it, but still, he would have ruled it a suicide and we would be done with this. Yes, Natsume is probably not the murderer, but what? It certainly wasn't his great deduction that led to this. But okay. My dear fellow, that honor belongs to you. Yes, thank you. I really have to wonder how he solved any case at all, or if everyone that he pointed out as the perpetrator is actually innocent and he forced them behind bars because he was so sure of his great deductions. We shall see. Well, probably not, actually. Well, at least that means Inspector Gregson is no longer here. We can examine the crime scene in more detail now. Yes, that's right. Ah, and of course, what? Have you forgotten what the inspector mentioned before? It was the landlord, Mr. Gerrydab, who discovered Mr. Shamspeare. Ah, Mr. John Gerrydab, yes. I expect we could find him in his sitting room on the top floor as usual. Right. we must remember to go and talk to him later then. Let's examine the room. Oh, the poor man, so young to die. Do you suppose it was a very painful death, being poisoned as he was? It depends on the poison, darling. It really depends on the poison. If you have a slow-acting one, it can be quite the miserable death. Some lead to you suffocating, gasping for air because your lungs fill with blood. Some lead to you losing all feeling in your body, and slowly but surely everything just stops and you can't do anything. You're wide awake while you feel your body dying. Definitely a great death, right? Awesome. If anyone ever has the pleasure of dying by poison, I really hope they have a fast-acting one or help close by so they get saved quickly and survive. But yeah, I don't know. All we can do now is hope that he'll be reborn to a better life. Yes, I suppose you're right. I wonder, do you think that putting our hands together in a Japanese prayer like it will help a British soul? Sorry? I made sure I had a reference at the ready as this, actually. This book is entitled The Beginner's Guide to Praying for the Departed, the British Way. I'll just reread it now. One moment. There's quite a spine on that book, isn't there? There certainly is. Any Brit going to tell me what they have to do? This is some sort of makeshift stage, I think, isn't it? But where does the audience sit though? For the nightly Shakespeare performances. Actors aspiring to the great stage must practice their art, Mr. Naruhodo, with or without an audience. In fact, on a related note, perhaps you should set up a mock bench for the defense in your office. What? Then you could practice your art every single day. I'll think about it. If you promise to don a beard and play the role of the judge. Well, if that would help you achieve your goal. This I have to see. Okay. Move the camera. I can't move the camera. How did I change? Okay, that's it. The lamp. Definitely important. This is a gas wall light, isn't it? It must be connected to a gas pipe in the wall. Gas lights, a gas stove. London really is a city of gas. But now that I think about it, Mr. and Mrs. Scary Dab had an open fire on the top floor, didn't they? Oh, yes, you're right. I don't recall seeing a gas stove up there. Well, I much prefer a real fire anyway. It's so much cozier. Okay, sure. As we've seen from the outside, the window is completely pricked up. A vestige of the former window tax that Brighton had to pay. What strange things they used to tax in Great Britain. I wonder, I mean, making people pay for the number of windows they had in a property is extraordinary. It's heartbreaking to think of the poor people having to block up their windows just to avoid an unaffordable tax. Oh, what is it, Miss Susato? If you look closely, a number of the bricks are loose. Ah, yes, it looks as though an amateur has broken out a few of them just here. Was it Mr. Shamspeare who did it? I wonder, being the lodger renting this place. Ah, look at this, Mr. Naruhodo. On the outside there's a little etch, and there's something on it. What, outside? What are we talking about? The soap bars? It's so cold, you can feel it through this gap. It did snow all last night. It could be cold. It should be. But more importantly, what is it on the edge out there? What are those snow-covered lumps? It's small bars of soap. Soap? What are bars of soap doing lined up on a ledge outside the window? I have no idea. But the pair of them look rather charming like that. Still, that's very strange, isn't it? Bars of soap lined up outside the window? I think perhaps we should take one. There are two, after all. Oh dear, I suppose we could. Oh, what's this? Look here at the soap. Ah, do you see in the middle there? It's a patch that's a different color. It's sort of transparent, but some sort of fancy design, I suppose. Only in Great Britain. It looks like the Hinamura flag of Japan, doesn't it? How wonderful. It's probably a very expensive brand. Expensive? Then what's it doing in this ramshackle old room? A bar of soap has been entered into the court record. A cheap bar of soap that was discovered just inside Mr. Shamspeare's window. It's one of two that were found there. Look at these extravagant, bright costumes. Somehow they look out of place in this room with this grim, shady goings on. This one, oops. This one looks like a king's attire. A king. I've always dreamt of being a king. Oh, I think you'd be more suited to a feudal lord, a daimyo or such like. With a John Mahage top knot? Wow, I'm so tired I can't read. Every Japanese man wishes he had a John Mahage. Oh, you'd look wonderful with one, and you already have the sword. Can you imagine what would happen if I walked around the streets of London with a John Mahage and a sword? Oh, please, no. What is this ugly head? Okay, what's in there? There's not much on these shelves, is there? Just this wine glass and bottle. And both of them are cracked. Yes, not much use, are they? What's the matter? Oh, I was just reminded of the Reaper, that's all. Prosecutor Lord Van Zix. Yes, he's so reckless with his wine glasses. I was thinking it's a waste and that he should donate some to the needy. Word, Susato, word. You can suggest it next time we meet. What do we have here? What's this? It looks like part of an envelope, I think. Yes, I think you might be right. Perhaps it was torn off when the letter was opened. Just to protect... Hey, Basickies. How are you today? Justice Project. Never heard of it. Never heard of rival schools either. If it's good, I might play it. Is that significant? Well, it's a little out of place, perhaps, when you look around the room. Ah, yeah, right. There's no sign of a letter or the rest of the envelope, in fact, is there? Ah, she's right. And yet, here we have the torn off end of an envelope. Just strikes me as unusual. I agree. We'd better take this just in case. The torn off end of envelope has been entered into the court record. Okay, what am I missing? And here we have another disproportionately large machine. This looks like a meter of some kind. Ah, this is a gas meter, I think. It seems that in this district, residents pay for gas as they use it with coins. Wow. Ah, I see. Yes, now you've pointed it out. You can see that there's a slot just there that looks like it could take a coin. So, you mean if you put a coin in there? That's right. That would buy you about 2 hours of gas for lights and heating. So if you were a poor citizen with no money, you'd have to sleep in the freezing cold? Yes. Or if you were scatterbrained with no change because you forgot to exchange your money at the bank. Thank goodness there's no meter in our office. True. I just have to remember the times I had to use the washing machine in my university dorm. Oh. For 33 minutes, it cost me €1. And depending on how much clothes I had, the program would go longer. So each wash was about an hour and a half. So I had to use €3 for one round of washing. And then the drying. Ninja no Pokken. Never played Ninja Gaiden, no. Oh. Sorry. I'm probably too tired for that. But yeah. I might look into it. Oh. Okay, what am I missing? Hopefully nothing. Oh, okay. Okay, I'll look it up. Ah, one of the teacups that Mr. Shamsby and his guest drank from last night. But don't go drinking from them, Mr. Naruhodo. There's a bitter poison inside. I'm not planning on drinking any. Don't worry. Anyway, the cups are both empty. That's true. So one was Mr. Shamsby's, and the other must be the cup that Mr. Natsume was drinking from. But Sasaki-san wasn't poisoned, of course. Perhaps we should take these so we can examine them in more detail later. The pair of teacups has been entered into the court record. Sure, it's always a good idea to just take everything from a crime scene. Why not just take the body with you while you're at it? You can do the autopsy yourself and maybe learn a bit more about the human body and how it functions. Looks like you're having a good snoop around, eh? Inspector Gregson, back so soon? After I threw that little Japanese fellow in the clink, I went and reported this to the investigation division. In 5 minutes' time, this place will be cordoned off by the yard. Oh, I see. Well, we'd better be leaving then. Poor Mr. Natsume must be feeling very low, being back in the cell again so soon. I'm sure. We should probably go and... Well, good morning there, sir. What's wrong, Mr. Naruhodo? Out, out, brave Kendall. Life's but a walking shadow, a poor player that struts and frets his hour upon the stage, and then is heard no more. Now, how soundeth the next part? It is a tale told by an idiot, full of sound and fury, signifying nothing. Indeed, oh happy day. What is going on? Walking Dead? No, I think he's drunk. Or is he actually dead now? The fella isn't dead at all? What was that nonsense he was saying though? I think, yes, it was from William Shakespeare's Macbeth. A soliloquy from Act 5, Scene 5. Shakespeare. So it was that the victim, Mr. William Shakespeare, came back to life. If the man had indeed been poisoned, it transpired that it hadn't killed him. He was taken by the emergency carriage to a nearby hospital for treatment. Inspector Gregson evicted us from the scene of the crime, whatever that now was. To be continued? No. What is that guy trying to do over there in yellow? There's no window to peep into. Oh, right. We opened that hole. True. Whatever. Whatever do you think will happen now? Good question. What a strange situation for Mr. Natsume. Arrested for murder, but then the victim comes back to life. I think perhaps the victim was never dead in the first place. It seems very likely that Mr. Shakespeare did consume poison as we deduced, but was it an accident, attempted suicide, or attempted murder? Until the truth can be established, I imagine the police will keep Mr. Natsume in custody. No, Macbeth didn't take poison. Did he? I read Macbeth, but like only the first 2.5 acts. I needed to read it for English literature class. And I was supposed to do a book review. I was like, alright, so this is the gist of the story, and whoever wants to know the end or how it continues needs to read the story, and my teacher loved it. It was, oh, wow. You're so right. You were supposed to motivate people to read the story. I was like, yep. That's definitely why I ended there. It's not because I stopped reading the story. Oh, well. But I'm quite sure Macbeth didn't end up with him poisoning himself. Otherwise, I would have said he might have tried poisoning himself to feel more in the role of his character. It might still... that might still be the case, I don't know. This house looks more... damaged than it did in the first game. And that apparently took place like 2 months ago. Oh well, I suppose so. Let's hope it doesn't come to anything more than a night in the cells. Oh, what's this? So you finally noticed. What's that man doing over there? It looks like he's trying to see into Soseki-san's lodgings. Is something wrong, Mr. Naruhodo? Excuse me? Could we have a word? Ah. A ninja. He just ran off. No. He's a sorcerer. She does, doesn't she? It's actually a special outfit. I got with the Ultimate Edition or whatever. I think you can unlock them through gameplay as well, since there's an achievement for wearing all available costumes, but I, for one, bought them because it was like €2 more. Yes, he didn't run off. But then again, okay, it might have been hard for them to animate. I don't know. I feel sure that I've seen that man somewhere before. Where was it? Oh, I do too, but I don't remember. Well, I don't. I don't remember someone dressed in all yellow. With the exception of the top floor where Mr. Natsume, Mr. and Mrs. Gerrydap live, all the windows are bricked up. Yes, that's because of an old window tax, blah blah blah, we already know that, thank you. Can we skip? I don't care. This still stands here? I don't think there's anything important out here, is there? A new location has been added. Why are there so many? What? Gerrydap's room. Why would I go there though? Here we are again, the eccentric landlord's eccentric top floor abode. We're here because Mr. Gerrydap's the one who discovered the incident this morning, don't forget. Ah, you chaps, eh? Yes. Good morning, sir. Thank you for your cooperation in court yesterday. It was quite a trial. It was yesterday? How did you damage your house so badly overnight? As much for Mr. Gary Dabb as anyone, really. Came straight back here after all that business at the Bailey yesterday. You guys should be convicted, even if it wasn't planned. You still committed manslaughter. Ah, no, she didn't die. Dangerous. Endangering the public? I'm not sure. You should at least pay a fine for what you did. You can be happy that she's quite thick and could, well, save herself. But if she were as thin as you, she would be dead. Didn't expect to wake up to more bally nonsense this morning. I wonder if you wouldn't mind telling us exactly what happened, Mr. Garrida. Yes, I suppose you'd like to know all about the dead loss of an actor chap in the ground floor room. Those were exactly Inspector Gregson's word, weren't they? That vanished as well. Why are all of them suddenly able to use magic? I wonder. But wow, I'm still having troubles to concentrate. Wants to go there. Yeah, save over it again for like I actually wanted to play to the to be continued part. I want some to... preferably some that help me finish reading texts I need for a text I need to write. And just give me like the condensed information I need. But yeah, oof. I'm so tired. Would love to stream more. And at some points I'm more awake and I'm like, okay, I could go on for a while longer. Then I feel like, bam. There is, I know, it's interesting, to say the least. I want this tiredness to finally be gone. I'm sleeping so much and I'm still so tired. Apparently I'm doing something wrong. Oh well. There's more? Okay. But yeah, let's end it here today. You haven't really missed anything, actually. I'm totally honest. It is... if you played the Ace Attorney games with Phoenix Wright, it's basically the cases of the first one. I think some of the second one. But yeah, can't remember. Oh well, let's continue tomorrow. Hopefully I'm less tired then we can actually play to the to be continued part. Hopefully. But yeah, we shall see. But regardless, everyone, take care. Thanks for stopping by, being there for me. And I'll see you next time. Bye bye.